This episode is probably going to go down as one of my favorites. Parker and Cécile are some of the coolest people that we've met.
It was like when you immediately connect with someone because it's part of yourself.
And meeting Parker was maybe one of the first times that I really felt like I had recognized him from somewhere, like, oh, who does he remind me of? And then I realized he reminded me of someone I'd never met in this lifetime, but I was so sure that I had met him before.
And the way I felt about Cécile, it was like the sister I never had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone that understands my feelings.
So looking back, it probably doesn't make sense, which is what makes it that much more magical. Like the connection we had from the very first moment with their kid, with their dogs, with them. Anyways, it's going to be a bit longer of an episode, but if you at all value our advice, we recommend that you watch the whole thing. It's definitely worth the time.
I think that if you're ready to open your mind, like think out of the box and like really connect with his words.
And it's probably not for everyone. I mean, I think this perspective, and I mean what Parker's talking about in this episode is the tip of the iceberg. The craziness goes so much deeper, and it's so amazing.
Like talking about unicorns and dragons. Why we have this?
Yeah, because the world is, I think, as magical as you allow it to be. And if you put limitations in your beliefs, like, that's what will show up in your universe. And if you don't, the world will start showing you some pretty cool things.
Yes.
We're Josiah and Lauda, and we exchanged traditional comforts for a life filled with adventure, peace, and freedom when we moved into our van Pass in June of 2021. This lifestyle woke us up from the daydream the system had us in.
The dream is perfect because the dream is the closest thing that's related to our unconscious, and this world is basically, we're in an unconscious. But we don't notice it because we're having a lot of interaction where reaction is slower. In a dream, everything's like, I mean, you have entire storylines in a dream that never happened but instantly drop into your head. There is no logic needed because the storyline changes instantaneously, and there is a backstory of how everything gets there. And the continuity in the unconscious is so lacking that when you're here and there is continuity, which we would consider time, it makes us believe we're not in the unconscious anymore because there has to be a logical way for things to happen. So the idea that we don't believe that plots can be put into our heads, that we are okay with it happening in a dream, the backstory coming into our lives in the dream, but here we don't believe that backstories can actually change.
Yes.
Here we think they're set. My sister was perfect. She was so stressed. And I said, okay, well, let's try this. You know, let's get weird. Let's try Parker's weirdness. And let's ask for exactly how much you need. Don't do a single thing for it. But if it comes, you need to know that life is speaking with you. And then you need to actually go and try to figure out, spend more time talking to life and figure out what it is. And the next day she woke up, I think I told you this, and there was money. She comes over and said, Parker, did you give me money? And there was like more than she needed in her wallet. She's like, did you put that money in my wallet? I was like, no, I don't have any money. I was broke at the time. She goes running off to my parents and then comes back to me. She's like, oh my God, like, I just realized that when I was at my work, when I get tips, I put these extra tips that had gotten in like my back part of my wallet where I never look because I didn't want to spend it right away. And then I just looked now and I saw it's like everything I need. So it's logic, but I had told her before, listen, it's going to come to you logically. So when it does, do not try to say to me, well,
This is why.
This is logical. So it's, I know you're trying to make it happen a miracle, but don't expect your miracle not to be logical.
Like, people think that a miracle has to defy science.
Yeah, it can do whatever it wants. It doesn't require, but they think, okay, well, if it does whatever it wants, it should just appear like a burning bush, like just, and it's like, okay, why though? Because why is that needed? Why, when the miracle is far easier to do and far less likely to freak everyone out when it just, someone shows up with exactly what you needed, when you need it. It opens you up so that you start to see that, oh wow, the miracle is so elusive. The miracle is happening all the time. And when I start to actually accept more and start to say yes more, all of a sudden it starts flowing in more and more, and the miracles start happening more and more. And only I can see them, because anyone else that's around me goes like, Dude, you're super lucky, man. And a lot of times the girls get it the worst because they're like super in tune with the vibration, and so everywhere they go, like everything goes well. They go into the club, they go in the club, the person in the club is like, oh, come here, let me get this seat, you guys want free drinks, and this is like smooth, and they're like, oh, it's because you're pretty, it's because you're a girl. It's like, whoa, don't discount the idea of what she is doing. But when you wake up and you know you're awake, and you realize that all of it is coming to entertain you, and you can truly feel that presence inside of you, then the game begins. Then all of the people come bringing all the gifts. The world changes around you into something beautiful so that you are in a playground of your own imagination. The unconscious can be affected not by doing, but by being. So you cannot force the unconscious to do, because the moment you push, the unconscious pulls you deeper. There's nothing to push. The unconscious has no physical stuff. You can't fight it. You can't attack it. It's not actually there. It's like, so the only way to actually play with the subconscious is actually internally. This is why they say go inwards. You must play with yourself and then watch the unconscious interact with you. If you move inwards and you get to a point where you're just smiling and happy, the unconscious is also moving with you, and the unconscious is also reflecting your smile. And in a reflected smile, it's not going to come out looking evil or dark or anything, but something beautiful.
People that would push back and say something like, well, that's easy for you to say, you know, being from California, being an American, everything, being from America, everything comes easy.
Money
what about the
everything.
people, you know, in India or third world country that are suffering each day, good people? Why, you know, is the apple not coming into their hand?
You know, everyone's drowning. You can't help someone until you figure out dry land, and to find dry land is very hard. So we have all these people going and helping third world countries to try to swim, but they don't know how to swim themselves. So we're doing basic physical stuff to try to stop it. But at the same time, nothing is changing that's causing the suffering. And we're having a bunch of people that are putting ointment on a wound that is continually being injured at the same time. If I were to create a game, right, and you come into this game, and this game is sole purpose is to get your attention, the algorithm doesn't know good and bad. It just knows attention time, and it knows that originally the game was about you put attention on the beautiful things, and the algorithm creates more of it. You like flowers? Okay, I got flowers. I'll create flowers everywhere. You will love flowers. But then people started focusing on suffering. And then people are like, oh my God, that's horrible. You see that? And then the algorithm's like, oh, you like that? You want some more of that? Suffering over here. Suffering over here. The unconscious is this, what we consider the algorithm. And again, the algorithm isn't actually an algorithm. It's an idea that we're talking about that cannot be described with words, because words come after the algorithm. If you were in a dream and you saw suffering, you're gonna go find out who is the one that's been causing their suffering and go punish them? No. And if it comes into life, when we see suffering in life, that is not a wrong. When we see suffering that is somebody needing to suffer for their own wake up, well, then that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, like some people need to suffer to wake up. Some people need to go through. I know I do. It's like the path isn't just rainbows and butterflies. It's actually like quite intense.
Why would I want to wake up? It doesn't guarantee me wealth. It doesn't, you know, mean that I'm going to have all these things that society says will make me happy. Can you tell me I'll be happy, fulfilled, purpose-driven by, quote-unquote, following a path to waking up?
Well, it'd be like, why would you fall in love? That's key. That's like the main understanding you need to... Yeah, waking up is falling in love. But we tend to think falling in love is falling in love with like a person. But in actuality, falling in love is like, what is love?
Is the answer.
Love is the answer.
And the question.
And the question as well. Yeah, it's a beautiful way of looking at it. It's everything. This is waking up. You cannot run from it. You can. You can run as much as you want, but it's coming. It's not something you do. You don't do waking up. You fall into waking up. Waking up is love. You're falling into love. And the beautiful way of waking up is finding a partner. It's finding someone who not only loves you, but loves themselves. who has fallen in love with themselves. And then you can be with someone else who loves themselves as well. And you can be around someone who is two people falling in love with life together. And this is different because most people think that love is a doing to the other person. You know, you don't love me anymore. Love is not a doing. Love is like taking a tuning fork, and I hit my tuning fork. And I'm sitting here with my tuning fork and I'm hitting it with my love. This is my love. I love myself. I love life. And so I hit my love tuning fork. And then she comes along, or you're hitting the tuning fork, and she comes along and she feels your tuning fork. And she feels her tuning fork vibrating super loud, and she didn't hit it right now, but she's feeling a lot of love for herself. Because as she walks next to you, holy shit, you vibrate my own tuning fork. Like, how beautiful. And you think, oh yeah, but where people get messed up is then one goes and they start getting caught in the suffering of life, and then they say, my tuning fork's no longer vibrating. The other person, you know, is not hitting theirs. It's not loving me. It's not vibrating my tuning fork anymore. You have to hit your own tuning fork. The other person doesn't make you love. And as soon as you don't feel it from the other person, it just means that you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
It's reminding you that maybe you got lazy. Maybe you've been relying so much on your partner to make you feel love that you stopped loving yourself, because it takes work to let go. Sometimes we get caught in this. But the waking up process is falling in love with life. And when we stop falling in love with life because we become so fucking mechanical, we rely on someone else to love us.
Someone that would want to do this process of waking up, falling in love with life, right?
Yeah, falling in love with themselves.
What would your advice be to that person? Are there certain tactics or?
Take yourself for a date.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a ton of different, the beautiful thing about love is that there is no path to it, right? Everyone falls in love in different ways. The first step is to actually imagine that life is in love with you, and it's been waiting there the whole time, wanting you to actually like go have a relationship with it. And you, just like she said, you can go on a date with life. You can say, okay, life, I realize that maybe I haven't been going on dates with you. That if you are in love with me, I would like to see, like, kind of experience almost a miracle. I'm going to go on a date. And this date needs to be like the opposite of planned, because our whole life we've been the ones leading. And the only way that a person's going to let go control and let life lead is it takes a lot of faith, a lot of releasing control. And so to do that, we have to break the patterns. So, you know, you want to do something crazy, you want to see if life is there. There's a million ways. You can take a newspaper and just like read the stuff that's going to happen. And when something pops into your head, you have to choose one. And all those events that are happening today, you just randomly choose one. Flip a coin to find one, you know? Choose randomly one and then go to it. And that'll be your date. Super weird. Super, you have no idea what you're doing. You're super out of your comfort zone. But you're following your soul by allowing your soul with the intention of knowing that your soul is actually the one who's choosing the name. It's going to guide you subconsciously. Because the only way you fall in love with someone is if you create a conversation with that person first. Like, it doesn't even need to be verbal. That's not the conversation you're creating. You're trying to find a way to feel the other person, right? This is how we're trying to create communication. And one of the communications, the main way, is through intuition. But intuition is a feeling that's very much like every other feeling that comes into your mind. So to see the difference requires actually knowing when your intuition's working and when it's not.
Yeah.
So by randomly choosing a date, going on that date, and when you're going on that date, try to play a game where you constantly do things different. Dress differently. Walk differently. Sit in a different spot than you normally would. Everything different. Talk to someone that you normally wouldn't talk to. Do things different. Just play a game of just doing things not normal. And this will break you out of the pattern, allow life to to guide you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because when life wants you to go talk to this person, instead of you being like, I'm not going to talk to that person, now you're like, okay, it's a game, and you'll go talk to the person. But when the idea is that what you're looking for is a moment when you get a feeling to go do something, and you're thinking it's part of the game, and you go do it, but then a miracle happens, or something very special happens. Someone comes up to you, something happens, someone says something, something you've been thinking about or wanting to do all of a sudden comes into fruition on this random date, in this moment, like a gift that you see as a gift for you. And in that moment, you go back to that feeling that you had right before that told you to go there, and you remember, because you'll know that feeling was different. Once you realize that feeling is there, now you're intrigued. Now you can find that voice anywhere. You can keep doing these random dates. Keep doing traveling is the best, because you're basically forced into the chaos.
Unknown.
Yeah, the unknown.
Into the unknown.
You have no patterns. You have no time limit. You have you're totally happy. You're just like in a new world. This is the same idea. This is why people like traveling. It's because you're forced into these moments where life can move you around really easily. But in traveling, once you see those moments, then you go back and you start going back through all the things that led you there, and you see the voice in all those that you listen to. That's building a relationship, because you're building a relationship with the voice, with that feeling, and the feeling's actually a guidance. This relationship with this kind of intuition is the beginning of trying to fall in love, because once you realize something is speaking with you, something is trying to guide you, then the dynamic changes. No longer are you going on dates, now you're being taken on dates. Now somebody is courting you. Now they're like, okay, you want to see something cool? Watch this. I'm going to blow your mind. And when your mind is blown, you either say, oh, wow, oh my God, we need to do more of this. Or you say, oh, fuck. I couldn't have created this on my own. I know this isn't me. I know this is you. I just want to say thank you.
And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like our channel.